Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we dive into the extraordinary life and hidden struggles of one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men. From his promising beginnings as a bright, athletic youngster in Illinois to his meteoric rise as a box office sensation, William Holden captivated audiences with his charm and talent. Yet behind the scenes, this golden boy battled personal demons and turbulent relationships that ultimately shaped his legacy. Join us as we explore the childhood, family, career milestones, scandals, and relationships that shed light on William Holden's remarkable yet troubled journey. Childhood. Growing up in the early 20th century, William Franklin Beadle Jr., later to be globally recognized as William Holden, experienced a childhood that, on the surface, seemed almost idyllic. Born into a well-to-do family in O'Fallon, Illinois, Holden's earliest years were filled with the security that his parents' financial success provided. O'Fallon itself was a small but flourishing town not too far from St. Louis, and it offered young William a chance to enjoy a traditional Midwestern upbringing, surrounded by fields, friendly neighbors, and a sense of close-knit community. Yet, even before he had the chance to settle into life in Illinois, Holden's father decided to move the family to South Pasadena, California. This shift changed the entire trajectory of William Holden's life. In the warmth of Southern California's year-round sunshine, Holden blossomed. He developed a particular affinity for outdoor activities, swimming, hiking, and ball games, skills that would later lend him a confident, athletic screen presence. This early demonstration of natural physical ability paralleled the kind of dashing heroism that audiences would come to love in his film roles decades later. Holden's academic success at South Pasadena High School showed that he was not merely a child of privilege. He was diligent and intelligent, traits that sometimes surprised people who equated good looks and athletic ability with limited academic ambition. He had a keen interest in science, which led him to enroll at Pasadena Junior College with the aim of studying research chemistry. Had fate not intervened, it is conceivable that William Holden might have become a scientist, working behind the scenes in a laboratory, a stark contrast to the charismatic on-screen image he would eventually cultivate. However, his involvement in local radio dramas and theatrical productions awakened a hidden passion. The fact that he discovered acting while still in his late teens reveals his genuine love for performance. This was not merely a superficial interest, it was a calling that he felt compelled to pursue. It was at the Pasadena Playbox Theater, a community-based venue that provided a launching pad for many aspiring actors, where Holden's raw talent truly began to shine. The discipline he gained from stage acting would serve him well in Hollywood, where multiple takes, extensive script rewrites, and complex shooting schedules required endurance and focus. The Paramount talent scout who saw him perform recognized this spark immediately. Often, studio scouts were seeking fresh faces with strong screen potential, especially during Hollywood's golden age, when the star system was crucial for attracting and retaining audiences. Signing Holden to a 7-year deal, common practice at the time, was a demonstration of the studio's confidence in his capabilities and the perceived marketability of his looks and persona. Had his family not relocated to California, had he not ventured into local radio plays, or had the Paramount scout not been in the audience at the Pasadena Playbox Theater, the world might never have witnessed the unique combination of earnestness and charm that William Holden brought to the screen. His childhood, though comfortable in many respects, laid the foundation for a life that would later be riddled with both triumphs and tribulations. And while the stage was set for future success, it is essential to remember that the illusions Hollywood projects often obscure the more complex, human realities of its stars, realities that would shape William Holden's trajectory in profound ways. Family. The mention of a wealthy family sometimes conjures up images of lavish homes, servants, and a sort of aristocratic leisure. However, for William Holden, that stable financial background was as much a responsibility as it was a blessing. Being the oldest son in the Beadle household undoubtedly placed certain expectations on him. His father's purchase of a fertilizer business in South Pasadena speaks to both entrepreneurial spirit and an unwavering desire to provide for his family. While it's tempting to think of family wealth as a simple cushion, the fertilizer business itself could be quite demanding, requiring expertise in chemistry, logistics, and business management. This likely explains why William Holden initially considered research chemistry as a career. He might have been gearing up to take over the family enterprise one day. Family life for Holden was also shaped by the era. As a child of the 1920s and 1930s, he came of age during the Great Depression, a time when even wealthy families were sometimes forced to confront the fragility of financial security. Having a stable, well-performing family business during this period would have reinforced the importance of hard work and consistency. It's not difficult to imagine a young William Holden absorbing those lessons, qualities he would channel into his acting career, known for its steady upward climb rather than any single flash-in-the-pan success. The supportive environment at home helped William Holden explore his talents freely. Some families might have balked at the idea of an acting career, especially when a ready-made family business awaited. Yet Holden's parents did not prevent him from investigating creative pursuits. The fact that Holden's father had the means and willingness to move from Illinois to California for better opportunities reveals a forward-looking mentality. That same openness likely influenced how William's own passions were nurtured. It's also noteworthy that having two younger brothers might have encouraged Holden's leadership qualities. He would later be described by co-stars as gentlemanly, protective, and quietly commanding in his approach to acting. These attributes could be tied back, at least in part, to how he navigated his role as the eldest child in the family. While not much has been documented publicly about the dynamics with his siblings, it is plausible that Holden's sense of responsibility, humility, and loyalty, which many in Hollywood acknowledged, was formed in these early family experiences. William Holden's career trajectory is one of the most fascinating in Hollywood's storied history. With 3 Best Actor nominations and a win for scandalous 17, he joined the ranks of luminaries who had effectively transitioned from the old studio system to more modern forms of storytelling. But the seeds of his success were planted much earlier, as evidenced by his breakout role in the 1939 boxing drama Golden Boy. Golden Boy was an adaptation of Clifford Odets's stage play, and it demanded significant nuance from its lead actor. The character Joe Bonaparte is torn between a passion for music and the brutal promise of boxing success. That Holden, a relative newcomer, managed to imbue the character with both tenderness and raw aggression speaks volumes about his innate talent. Barbara Stanwyck's mentorship was indeed key. A seasoned professional by that time, Stanwyck recognized in Holden not just good looks but also a subtlety and depth that she believed could captivate audiences. Her faith in him would later be validated as Holden's stardom soared. Yet for much of the early 1940s, Holden found himself typecast in roles that capitalized on his boyish charm and leading man appeal. This sort of casting, while good for establishing a base of fans, could become artistically stifling for someone with Holden's aspirations. Like many actors seeking to break free from being pigeonholed, he jumped at the opportunity to appear in more substantial roles. It was, of course, Sunset Boulevard, 1950, that gave him that chance. Directed by Billy Wilder, Sunset Boulevard is a dark, satirical exploration of Hollywood's silent era and the price of fame. Holden's portrayal of Joe Gillis, a down-on-his-luck writer, required the mixture of cynicism, desperation, and a tinge of arrogance. This was starkly different from the romantic leads he'd played before. Wilder's direction likely pushed Holden to new depths. Wilder was known for his ability to coax brilliant, multi-layered performances from his actors. The film's success at the box office and with critics catapulted Holden into a new realm of respectability. It also opened the door for the roles that would eventually define his golden era in the 1950s. One must also consider the effect that serving in the Army Air Corps during World War II had on Holden. Like many men of his generation, the war interrupted his nascent career, but it also afforded him life experience that would enrich his portrayals. He participated in training films, which, while not glamorous, provided additional on-camera experience and a deeper sense of discipline. When he returned from service, the boyish face now carried traces of lived experience, a quiet authority that audiences and directors noticed. This subtle shift in his persona from youthful exuberance to world-weary depth is part of what made him so believable as Joe Gillis. The early 1950s cemented Holden's place in Hollywood history. Films like Born Yesterday, 1950, showcased his versatility, allowing him to share the screen with Judy Holliday, whose comedic timing was legendary. The role of Joe Gillis had shown he could handle dark and dramatic material, while Born Yesterday proved he could still excel in comedic or lighter fare. Then, in 1953, came his crowning achievement in scandalous 17. Playing the cynical, fast-talking Sergeant Sefton, Holden captured an essence of moral ambiguity that was uncommon for Hollywood leads of the time. It was a role demanding a careful balance of bitterness, survival instinct, and reluctant camaraderie, qualities that many critics believed only Holden could bring to life. His Academy Award for Best Actor was both a personal triumph and an indicator of changing tastes in Hollywood. Audiences were moving away from the squeaky-clean heroes of the 1930s and 1940s, wanting to see more flawed, complex characters on screen. Holden was there at the perfect moment with the perfect performance. The 1950s saw William Holden ascend to a pinnacle of stardom. His collaboration with top-tier directors and screen legends showcased an astonishing range that included everything from romantic leads to hardened, cynical anti-heroes. Appearing in Executive Suite, 1954, alongside Frederick March and Barbara Stanwyck allowed him to explore corporate drama, while Sabrina, 1954, with Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart, highlighted his comedic timing and understated elegance. Each role was distinct, proving he had more to offer than just the charming hero. Hollywood in the 1950s was alive with creativity as post-war optimism fueled big-budget productions. During this time, Holden's face was a mainstay in magazines and tabloids. Audiences adored him not just for his performances but also for the personal mystique he carried: handsome, private, slightly aloof. His place on the Quigley list of top box office stars for 5 consecutive years, 1954 to 1958, is a testament to how well he connected with the era's viewers. Topping that list in 1956 placed him in the same league as John Wayne and James Stewart, reflecting his massive commercial draw. Love is a Many-Splendored Thing, 1955, is often cited as the quintessential 1950s romantic drama, capitalizing on the decade's appetite for sweeping love stories set in exotic locales. Holden's on-screen chemistry with Jennifer Jones added a layer of genuine depth to what could have been a melodramatic affair. Similarly, The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957, directed by David Lean, was a global hit, admired for its epic scope and psychological tension. Holden's involvement not only gave him another opportunity to play a complex character, an American prisoner of war forced to collaborate with his British counterparts and, in effect, with the Japanese captors, but it also showcased his ability to hold his own alongside acclaimed actors like Alec Guinness. The Country Girl is often better remembered for Grace Kelly's Oscar-winning performance and Bing Crosby's more dramatic turn, overshadowing Holden. Meanwhile, The Bridges at Tokari tackled the subject of the Korean War, a less commonly depicted conflict in Hollywood compared to World War II. These films remind us that even a major star like William Holden could sometimes be overshadowed by co-stars or lost in the shuffle of Hollywood's vast output, especially if later decades didn't embrace them as classics. Yet film historians recognize that each contributed to Holden's body of work and exemplified the actor's willingness to tackle diverse, sometimes challenging roles. The ability to slow down and become more selective with roles is a luxury few Hollywood stars can afford. Holden reached this position precisely because of the massive success he had built in the 1950s. Having profit participation in The Bridge on the River Kwai placed him among the pioneering actors who negotiated for a share of a film's earnings, a practice that would later become more common among top-tier stars. His philanthropy and genuine love for wildlife conservation often go unheralded in quick biographies, but it's a deeply significant part of who Holden became in the latter half of his life. Founding the Mount Kenya Safari Club Game Preserve in 1959 was not merely a celebrity dalliance, it was a heartfelt mission to preserve wildlife habitats threatened by poaching and encroachment. His time in Africa introduced him to a cause beyond Hollywood's glitz and glamour, and he was reportedly deeply involved in ensuring that animals would be protected and visitors could learn about conservation. This side of Holden, away from the cameras, reveals a person whose concerns reached beyond the next contract or award ceremony. Artistically, the 1960s and 1970s saw Holden engaging in riskier roles that showcased a darker, more introspective dimension. The shift in public taste also played a role. The production code was crumbling, and movies were embracing more violence, raw emotion, and moral ambiguity. The archetype of the straightforward hero was giving way to complex anti-heroes. This environment favored Holden's transformation. The Wild Bunch, 1969, directed by Sam Peckinpah, remains a seminal western that pushed the boundaries of on-screen violence and complex characterization. Holden's performance as Pike Bishop is riveting, layering stoicism, regret, and a desperate will to survive. Audiences who remembered the glamorous star of Sabrina were astounded by the gritty realism he delivered. Continuing with westerns, Wild Rovers, 1971, had less commercial success but has attained cult status over time. Starring alongside Ryan O'Neal, Holden again portrayed a character whose morality was shaded in gray, reflecting the changing ethos of cinema. By the time he appeared in The Blue Knight, 1973, for television, he had gained such gravitas that even the small screen could hardly contain the depth of his performance, culminating in an Emmy win. Then came Network, 1976, directed by Sidney Lumet and written by Paddy Chayefsky. The film remains one of the definitive satires of the television industry, and Holden's role as Max Schumacher, a weary news division president grappling with corporate realities, was a showcase of controlled emotion and moral conflict. Critics lauded him for bringing a nuanced sense of tragedy to a character overshadowed by the more flamboyant on-screen antics of the mad prophet of the airwaves, Howard Beale, portrayed by Peter Finch. Holden's performance was recognized with a Best Actor nomination, reaffirming that he had not lost any of the power he once commanded at his zenith. S.O.B., 1981, would be Holden's final film role, and in a meta twist, he played a director within a film. It was a black comedy that satirized Hollywood's darker elements, much like Sunset Boulevard had done decades earlier. It's poignant that Holden's cinematic journey would begin with him portraying a wide-eyed talent in Golden Boy, only to end portraying a jaded director in a scathing commentary on the industry that had both made and tormented him. Collaborations with Hollywood icons. In addition to Barbara Stanwyck and Billy Wilder, Holden had the privilege of working with an array of directors and co-stars who themselves were cinematic titans. Among them were Otto Preminger, William Wyler, David Lean, and John Ford. Each collaboration expanded Holden's range, whether he was playing a suave romantic figure or a soldier grappling with the moral complexities of war. A key example is his role in Picnic, 1955, directed by Joshua Logan, where Holden took on a part initially considered for Marlon Brando. Holden was older than the character in William Inge's original play, yet his performance as the drifter Hal Carter remains memorable for its blend of raw masculinity and underlying vulnerability. Co-star Kim Novak later recalled how Holden's serious approach to the role uplifted her performance, highlighting the sense of responsibility and mentorship he naturally exhibited on set. Scandal. While William Holden cultivated a public image of sophistication and charm, his life was not free from controversy. The car accident in Italy is perhaps the most glaring scandal. The tragedy resulted in the death of another driver, a heartbreaking consequence that weighed heavily on Holden's conscience. Although he received an 8-month suspended sentence, the incident left emotional scars. It was also indicative of Holden's struggles with alcohol, a problem that would increasingly haunt him in later years. Hollywood at the time often hushed up such incidents to protect the reputations of its stars, and while Holden's scandal did not entirely derail his career, it served as a public acknowledgement that behind the luminous smile and self-assured demeanor lay a troubled soul. The guilt and remorse he felt might have deepened his pre-existing issues with drinking, and it also formed part of the complex emotional tapestry that underpinned his later performances. Fans who only knew his screen persona were often shocked to discover the behind-the-scenes turmoil. It's also worth noting that the era in which this scandal occurred was not as tolerant or as transparent about substance abuse as today. A-listers were sometimes protected by studios, lawyers, and publicists, making it possible for them to continue their careers without facing the full consequences that a non-celebrity might. Still, the Italy accident had real consequences in Holden's personal life, contributing to his relationship strain, fueling press speculation, and affecting how he perceived himself. Marriage. William Holden's marriage to actress Brenda Marshall, born Ardis Ankerson, was emblematic of many Hollywood unions, filled with glamour on the outside but fraught with tension within. They wed in 1941, just as his career was beginning to take off and as the world was edging into the upheaval of World War II. Marshall had some success as an actress, but she never reached the level of fame that Holden did. The professional imbalance, combined with the standard strains of raising a family, may have contributed to the couple's frequent separations. Their marriage did, however, produce 2 sons, and Holden also adopted Marshall's daughter from her first marriage. It's worth remembering that Holden was a father, juggling parental responsibilities with the demands of a high-profile career. Tales from those who knew him speak of a man who cared deeply for his children yet was often called away for months at a time on shooting locations around the world. In an era without today's rapid communication methods, such separations could be damaging. The official separation in 1966, followed by a divorce 5 years later, underscores a drawn-out process that likely took an emotional toll on both parties. Hollywood divorces often become fodder for tabloids, but Holden's star power ensured that the private details remained relatively discreet. Nonetheless, the stress would have been immense. Some historians suggest that his growing dependency on alcohol was both a cause and an effect of marital discord. In any case, the end of his long marriage was a significant turning point in his personal life, freeing him but also leaving him without a stable domestic anchor. Other relationships. The intersection of stardom, personal insecurities, and the temptations of Hollywood is a tale as old as the film industry itself. William Holden was far from immune to this. His rumored affairs with leading ladies like Audrey Hepburn were the stuff of gossip columns. Although the details of their relationship remain mostly speculative, their chemistry on screen, particularly in Sabrina, revealed a genuine warmth. And indeed, rumors have circulated that a deep emotional bond formed between them, complicated by Holden's existing marriage and personal demons. His friendship with Ronald Reagan, who was himself transitioning from a film career into a more political realm, demonstrates how interconnected Hollywood circles were at the time. Being Reagan's best man in 1952 to Nancy Davis was more than a mere social gesture, it was a statement of genuine camaraderie. This is also reflective of how Holden, for all his private struggles, maintained a social life that brought him into contact with future presidents, moguls, and some of the world's most influential figures. Holden's self-doubt, often masked by a calm demeanor, was no less powerful for being hidden. With each affair or scandalous rumor, that veneer of charm and control might have cracked slightly, feeding into his insecurities. Some of the darkness that emerged in his roles during the 1960s and 1970s could well have been fueled by personal guilt, regrets, and the knowledge that stardom doesn't shield one from the complexities of human relationships. William Holden's death was shockingly mundane yet profoundly tragic, a stark contrast to the dramatic roles that had defined his public persona. Slipping on a rug and hitting his head might sound like a trivial accident, but in the context of his alcohol abuse, it became a fatal moment. Medical experts have pointed out that had someone been there to assist or had he called for help in time, his life might have been saved. Instead, alone in his Santa Monica apartment, he succumbed to blood loss and was discovered days later. No funeral or memorial service was held, in accordance with his wishes. This quiet exit from the world mirrored the complicated relationship he had with public attention. Even at the height of his fame, Holden valued his privacy, and his final request was simply an extension of the life he had led, one where the lines between personal struggles and public adoration were carefully managed. Fans worldwide mourned the loss, but without a public ceremony, the grief remained personal. Those closest to him had to say their farewells without the formal gathering that typically follows the passing of a Hollywood legend. In a metaphorical sense, the manner of Holden's death underscored the hidden battle he waged. His charm and on-screen bravado couldn't protect him from his own vulnerabilities. The golden boy of Hollywood faced an end that was neither glamorous nor heroic, a sobering reminder of the real-life consequences of addiction and isolation. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of William Holden's life, from his early ambitions in California to the haunting trials and triumphs that defined his Hollywood career. Though he was revered by fans and colleagues alike, the Golden Boy carried a deep sense of insecurity that fueled his struggles with alcoholism and personal relationships. In the end, Holden's untimely and tragic passing serves as a somber reminder of the hidden battles so many stars face behind the glare of the spotlight. We hope this closer look has offered you a deeper appreciation for the complexity of William Holden's legacy. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more revealing stories from the golden era of Hollywood.